to say is that, firstly, the problem with the Eurozone is not just a neoliberal institution. The problem is that we have neoliberal governments within it, and that's what determines the future of the European Union. So, just you know, like the imagination of the European Union in populations doesn't always relate to what really happens. We really need to remember that prime ministers of a lot of countries just make neoliberal policies, and that's what perpetuates the European Union the way it is. Eurozone is a separate issue. So it seems from this discussion that what we want is a different European Union. I want to point out that the only way we can get it is if we stay in it, because literally the best example of that is Polish workers who have been growing up in capitalism, but for the first time, because borders are open in Europe for people with any amount of money, really, unlike before. That means that they come here and actually a lot of them set up unions, actually a lot of them join the unions, and there are a lot of problems, as you were saying, I do think unions need to reach out more, but the point is, they get the experience, and that's something we can't get otherwise. And that's the reason why, if you really want European solidarity, and if you really want the best for the humankind, in Europe first, then you can change the world, then stay in Europe and allow people to learn how to be part of a civil society where you fight for your own rights. It's not like it's obvious to everyone everywhere, because we've been through a lot in Europe everywhere. So I think solidarity is needed, and the best voice of the solidarity is to stay in and let people learn from each other's experiences, because only then you actually can get any change and people know how to fight for their rights.
I'll respond to Johnny's point and Luke's. Johnny's about, would we have these laws if it wasn't for the European Union? Yeah, some of them. Race relations legislation originally comes in '68, 8 years before the European Union Act, so that proceeds. But when we say that the acts are underpinned by European Union law, now what that means in practice is if you want to push forward as a lawyer the rights of working people in the workplace, how you do it, for example, disability. We had a Disability Discrimination Act that didn't protect carers, so people went off and said, our act breached European Union law, a bunch of European judges agreed, that's how we pushed back. So we've got the rights in the Discrimination Act now, and the Equality Act extended to whole new groups of people. We know what the Tories' plans are, if they're in government, and irrespective of the yes or no vote, for what they want to do to EU. Because I said so last week, they want to get rid of the 48-hour week, Now, the socialist position, here I strongly agree with Pat. Anyone who thinks that our 48-hour week is already liberation and socialism has got something seriously missing. That is not a socialist position. We have a 48-hour week which any single employer can opt their workers out of. All they have to do is sign a piece of paper and it goes. That cannot be the end point that we're aiming towards. But somehow the position, as I'm trying to articulate, combines that sense, we've got to argue for more. It can't be enough to ally with either camp. With also tactical sense that, come on, if the vote is yes, so we say in the EU, the Tories will not be able to remove those things, and if the vote is no, they will go. So the immediate prospect of no go will be fewer rights. And you can't wish that away. We can't be, in this debate, equivalent to those Labour politicians you always hear, whenever there's war, about how they've been CND for 30 years, and these bombs are going to deliver women's rights and human rights. They're not in control of the totality of the situation. We're not in control about how the vote would actually be taken. To that extent, I agree with people who made that point. So that was point 1 and 1. Point number 2. Am I saying, therefore, that there are soft and neoliberals? Well, I'm really trying not to say that. The difference between ideological and pragmatist neoliberals is not the difference I want to insist on. It is so not. If that's the game we play, it will end up like the American left. Every time they wait for the Democrats are just a little bit better. And they deliver their whole hopes of socialism into nothing because they concentrate always on the lesser evil. But combine that with the second insight. Lesser evilism is bad, but greater evilism can't be the answer either.
I love you all.
I mean, a couple of points very quickly. Just, I mean, on the legal side, though, I have to say that this phobia, I don't share it, and I'm myself a lawyer, actually, because, I mean, there's one thing that I think people must understand about the law is that it comes from the EU because we have the EU now. We didn't always have it, and if we didn't, we'll still regulate areas. And we'll do it through struggles with Parliament, whatever, but there won't be suddenly nothing, and that's one thing. So, and that actually links to an interesting point, which is that when I hear people speaking, and there was a lot of there is no alternative towards the EU, which is something that we've seen a lot in Greece as well, and I absolutely don't deny that the situations are very different, not just because the politics domestically are different, but also because it's the Eurozone and the European Union and so on and so forth, and things are instead different. But I don't think it is, I don't find it particularly constructive to be thinking about what we lose or we gain by getting out of the EU. Because the real answer is we do not know. That is as simple as that. We cannot know. And the EU also is quite a recent, right? It hasn't been around for hundreds of years. It's there for us 50 only. The Treaty of Rome 57. Actually, the neoliberalism of it, late 90s really. So this is it. So in terms of thinking about the situation, what I see at least in this country is that we must think how are we going to be able to further our cause? The working class cause, the migrants cause, what is the forum? And what I'm disappointed to see in the EU is that there is no democratic forum. And this is not only because we have a referendum, by the way, you might all say no, and they might turn around and say, well, sorry, that was actually yes, no? So there's that. But there's not only that, there is a simple fact that there are no generally democratic institutions in Europe which you can actually somehow further an agenda. This is why, despite the fact that I agree the politics here will be worse maybe than those of the EU, but at least there is perhaps a chance to actually do something about it at some point. I mean, the European Parliament, apart from the fact that it doesn't really engage people think that it's a legislator. It's not. It shares its power with the Council. It's not the sole legislator. And also, it has no power at all in very, very crucial areas that the EU legislates on. Right? Foreign policy, nothing. Family law, consultative role. International agreements like TTIP, nothing. The European Parliament will only be consulted. People that think that the European Parliament is going to veto TTIP are just, no, it's not going to happen because the treaties don't give it the power to do so. So this is just the thing, that I'm not convinced that there is really that space available to do it. Now on the population size, I was actually myself tempted once to do that in the UK, but I think the passivity of the left is dangerous right now. And we ought to be taking stands on a lot of issues. And I'll be more in favor to an active boycott, for example, where you explain that this thing that we've created has no exits, either, in whichever way we look at it. A boycott sounds better, but just sitting around and saying, I have troubles with what it's going to do to us. That's all.
Yeah, I want to start with the speaker who said to abstain. I want to bring an example of a political party who abstained recently, and that's the Communist Party of Greece, and they abstained in the referendum, and on the basis that both sides are terrible, but people, their own members, didn't follow them because people understood that the referendum really mattered and it was really important, and they wanted to show their very, very strong feelings about what's happening in Greece. So people did vote, and as I said, there was a party who abstained, and it became irrelevant in the debate because actually people just forgot about it and went and did what they had to do. Looking at Greece, the issue about Greece is not anymore economic. It's not about paying the debt anymore. It's just that they've forgotten about the debt. Greece is never going to repay the debt. The issue is ideological. That how dare they be an alternative to this? How dare you have a left government? How dare you say that we are against neoliberalism? You will not have it. This is what the EU says, and frankly, I can't see how can anybody be an internationalist and in solidarity with the people of Greece by saying yes to Euro. I just can't see how we can be in solidarity with the migrants who are dying in the Med and in the various electrified fences and under lorries in Calais when we say yes to Fortress Europe. It's absolutely right to say that the EU is a class institution. It's not there for us to pick, we have got some rights here. It is there it was put together to ensure larger markets for the various different capitals and to ensure a larger pool of labor to exploit, and that's what it is about. So if we talk about rights within the EU, we have to see how these rights have been won, because they haven't been given to us. Nobody has given rights to disabled people. Nobody has given rights to, women for maternity leave. We have won these rights, and we have won them in different places. And actually, we have to ensure and keep our perspective on this, because it is working class people who are going to have to defend their rights. It's not Merkel and it's not Cameron that they will do it for us. And that brings us back to the question, how best do we do this? And I want to respond to Charlie's position about, his colleagues at work and so on. I think our stance cannot be based on what is popular with people. It's not about whether people, seem to support this or not. But I think it has to be based on actually who is going to defend migrants, because their rights are restricted already. And you look, what the talk is about, migrants from outside EU. If you don't earn, a certain amount of money, you'll be kicked out of the country after 5 years. Nobody can guarantee that the same is not going to happen to us unless we challenge these policies, unless we challenge these neoliberal ideas. And I can't see how we can do this with a yes vote. It really ties our hands, and we can't fight. We can't fight properly. In terms of the balance of forces, we have to change the balance of forces, comrades, because otherwise we might as well just pack up and go home, because otherwise we say we are irrelevant, We cannot have any impact. These are the objective circumstances. We can't have any impact on them. We can't influence any debates. We can't influence people's ideas. And, it's just a defeat for the left, basically. And I think we do have a very important role to play. How an exit from the EU may happen, in whose terms this may happen, is very important. We want it to be on our terms. And our terms are internationalism, and our terms are against austerity, and our terms are anti-capitalist. That's the kind of terms we want to impose. And it's not an easy struggle, but we have to take up these kinds of arguments, and we have to take up these kinds of struggles. They don't come easy.